Hello, and welcome back to the Excellence Foresight, the space where we reimagine what's possible when we lead with purpose, learn with intention, and unlock the full potential of people and systems. I'm your host, Nancy Naimi, and today we're diving into a topic that's at the heart of sustainable excellence learning. And with this episode, Bringing Learning to Life, we have a very special guest here today who will help us to explore this. So I'm thrilled to be joined by Sabrina Malter. Sabrina is a seasoned business coach and a consultant with over 25 years of experience in the pharmaceutical industry, including a decade focused on leadership development, organizational transformation, and strategic planning. Also, she collaborates with organizations to cultivate learning cultures. So, Sabrina, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me today. I'm very happy to be your guest.
Thank you. It's our honor to have you here today. And I would like to start saying something about Sabrina. She just published a new book in German. Unfortunately, we can't really share a lot of details here today, but it's a practical guide on bringing learning to life. And this episode, we're going to deep dive into some of the learning that Sabrina is sharing in her book. So, Sabrina, let's dive in. What sparked this book for you? Where did the idea of learning everything, if I want to translate that from German to English, begin to take shape? And why now you're publishing this book?
Yeah, thank you. Um, this bringing learning to life. This book is really, specialized on building a learning culture and building learning capabilities in organizations, and that's also a topic of my business consultancy and many of my workshops is around building learning culture and building learning competencies. And when I gave this workshops also 3 years, 2 years ago, people were continuously asking me, how could we go on? How could we dive deeper? And that sparked the idea to write a book. First, I only thought of a booklet with some workshop designs, with some exercises for reflection, and a little bit more so that people could go on. And then I had so many ideas, and I thought of also of case studies with organizations that I knew that have different and interesting concepts to promote learning, and very different concepts. And so I wanted to share these concepts, and wanted to make interviews also for me to learn more and to provide this knowledge. And that's so it grew my concept of a book even before I started writing. And then I realized, okay, it's not a booklet, it's a real book. I started searching for a publisher, and wrote my first chapter, and then I found a publisher, and then was a little bit got a little bit more easy because I signed my contract, and so I had a fixed point when I would like to finish the manuscript, and so I just went working, and that
This
was the
episode
beginning.
It's absolutely wonderful. I think I saw your post on LinkedIn, and I think it's a proud moment to be able to publish his own book. And I think there's a lot of learning. If you were able to move just from a booklet to a book, it means there's a lot of content, and your work with organization is reflected in that book. I think I encourage a lot of people when you translate that in English to go ahead and read it. But today we can share with them a little bit more about the learning from the book. And can you maybe start helping us a little bit define what bringing learning to life is or really looks like in real world?
Yes. First, you need a foundation to bring learning to life in organizations, and that's the attitude of learning. For example, if my reader is a people leader or a change agent or human resources manager in an organization, they first of all they have to start with themselves to have to check and reflect on their attitude, and is it a curious and open attitude, or is it perhaps sometimes, if they are triggered, more defensive and closed? And when they got through, I have some practical practical steps and reflection exercises so that you could really work with that. And if they get a little bit more experience with this concept and with their own reflection, then they're enabled to work with their teams and also to help their teams reflect on their attitude and what triggers them perhaps in a closed attitude, which is totally normal. It's nothing to blame someone for, but it's totally normal. Some situations are really triggering that you are more closed and more defensive, and what helps people and how perhaps colleagues could help each other to get again in this open and curious state of mind. And so it's really something to work on and to develop. And if you are more aware of this attitude, then you realize it in yourself when you are triggered. You realize this in your colleagues, and you could help each other. So that's perhaps the first foundation. And then you get in this building a learning culture. It's really connected to the attitude, but it's also about psychological safety. So feeling safe to share unfinished thoughts, unfinished ideas, to ask questions, even if someone else could think there perhaps you should perhaps know already the answer, and all these things. And so you have you don't hold back too much. You share your thoughts, so that you and everyone else could build on. You share your questions, you learn from the answer, and everyone else who doesn't know the answer as well, perhaps the same. It's also about a culture where we help each other to learn, to grow with feedback, but also with helping with perhaps thoughts, ideas, connections. And then if you have this foundation of learning attitude and learning culture, then it's really about the capabilities of learning. And that's really very practical capabilities. What I am talking about is when you are aiming for an ambitious goal at work, or when you are when you find yourself before a problem that you need to solve, then it's really this one small step at a time, learning cycles that the lean practitioners from the audience perhaps recognize very well. You see from problem solving, you see your problem or your which you could also define as a problem, your status quo and your goal, and the difference, the gap, is also like a problem to solve. And then you have your hypothesis, how to move on. And then you start and really get into doing, reflect, and then there's the learning, because there's something else perhaps as you expected. And so these small learning cycles is really something that you could learn for yourself. You could learn peer-to-peer when you are helping each other peer-to-peer. You could also, as with Toyota Kata and Kata coaching, you could also, as a leader, as a people leader, help your people in this coaching role to move forward in this direction and build this problem solving and learning skills.
So if I summarize it a bit, so initially we need to have a culture kind of for learning in the organization, and also the mindset of people focusing on learning. And then there's a methodology to follow that could help them really have those cycles of learning in place. And you mentioned self-awareness, I think, Sabrina, and I think it's very important for people to know their capabilities, know their competencies, and how to where they are on that learning journey and how they can improve that. So if I want to go back a little bit to the bigger picture and the organizations, do you have any specific case study where you feel an organization made a big difference in building a culture of learning that could be very beneficial for others to learn from?
Yes, it's hard for me to choose one of my 5 case studies, but I would perhaps pick this one, and where a company really focused on the young people, the students and apprentices, and really included this also reflecting these reflection cycles, self-reflection cycles, and self-awareness about how someone, the apprentices and young people, how they learn, what learning experience helps them, what's hard for them, how they get help, how they could um, move forward and overcome obstacles. All this planning and reflection process around learning, so that they get self-confident and yeah, learners, and not dependent on learning programs as they are perhaps used from school, and also some to a certain extent from university. Really, that they see or learn to see where they stand, what's missing perhaps, and then move on and find ways to close their learning gaps, and to move on and find things that they are passionate about, and who are at the same time helpful for their role that they're in. And I think this concept, it's called personalized um, personalized apprenticeship, perhaps would be
Yeah,
this German German direct
that's a good word. Yeah.
English expression. And that's really that not everyone, not every student or apprentice learns the same, but they have different modules that they could choose from to grow this self-reflection and self um, ownership of their learning process. And I think that's really helpful.
And that's very helpful, I think, for students. And I think a lot of education systems have moved to something similar to, right, when at schools or at university. So we have those adapted models for each one's capabilities. And I think it gives them really possibility to learn on their own pace, but also keep learning, I think, as they move within their studies. So Sabrina, if I want to go back a little bit, I think both of us have worked in excellence, and we have that passion for making sure that when we establish something, it is at the organizational level. So how do you see learning and organizational excellence being connected in organizations? How they help each other somehow?
Mm. They are so closely connected that I would nearly say sometimes they are really the same. That's perhaps a little bit too much, but sometimes they're really the same. If we want to move towards excellence, it's one thing to be excellent in the moment, and the other to be excellent in the future. And to be excellent in the future, we have to develop the people and the capabilities within the organization. And from this perspective, it's really just the same. You have to be a learning organization to be an excellent organization in the future, um, or to stay. If you are excellent at the moment, even then, you have to be a learning organization to stay there, to build the capabilities. It's really very closely connected. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like that. I like how you put it, because I think for organization, it's important when they reach a certain level to maintain that, to sustain it. We talk about sustaining excellence, but also to keep that continuous improvement process alive in the organization. And that happens through learning. And coming from the Shingo background, we have a lot of principles, and we have one principle talks about scientific thinking, embracing scientific thinking, and learning is part of that. And once you have an organization culture that supports people to continuously learn and to experiment, definitely they're going to keep improving, and that's going to feed into their excellence
Exactly. Yeah.
journey. So I think that's a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of connection between these two. Like you said, it's almost the same thing. And now for our listeners, we talk a lot about sometimes the need to celebrate, right? To celebrate achievements, milestones, and things that are positive within the organization and what happens to its people. So, can you share with us some of the learning moments that you feel were deserving to be recognized and celebrated, and why?
The learning moments that I describe in my book, or the learning moments of my own journey writing the book.
It's whatever you prefer.
um,
I'll leave the choice to you.
yeah, I would say that this building this what I just shared, this personalized apprenticeship program, for example, was definitely something to celebrate. Another great example was really because it was really developed as a kind of a grassroots initiative, and is now a really big learning what's the word, promoter of learning in this organization. Is a concept that's it's a learning platform, and it really built from the idea to connect people within a big corporation who have expertise in different areas, so that people could better exchange. And let's just start with a list of people and their expertise. But what's interesting is really that it was kind of a grassroots initiative to start that. I really like this approach. And then it from there on, from this list, it built to that they now offer something like lunch and learn sessions, but over the whole day and the whole week, you could book different sessions from colleagues, for colleagues, all different areas, and also support this getting connected and work together. And the spirit of this concept and of this, say, movement is really that we are better when we are working together and helping each other and promoting each other. And yeah, all the people that are involved in that are really so excited. And I think that's really something to be very proud of for those who are the initiators of this and who worked on that and developed that. Yeah, I think that's really wonderful.
Exactly. And I think you mentioned pride. When people are proud of what they're doing, they're definitely going to give more. They're going to be more motivated to continue to contribute to that. And I think a lot of things come from the culture of the organization that promotes the work of people. They celebrate their achievement and make them really feel proud to belong to that organization. So I think that's a great example. And I just want to go back a little bit, Sabrina. You've had 25 years of experience in organizations. And if you see, for example, a place where someone saying, I don't know, but I would love to learn. How can organizations really have systems that support this, right? And how can they leverage this? Like people, when they really have the motivation to learn and they don't know and they're honest enough to say it, what organizations, what systems they can have in place to support this culture and keep the learning to growing in their organization?
Yeah. I think one of the most important, or perhaps the most important lever to help people to move forward is really the culture. Because if it's the people around you, for example, your direct superior or your colleagues or some colleagues a little bit further away who say to you in this moment, okay, Sabrina, you don't know that, you haven't done that before, but I encourage you to do that. And perhaps I could help you, I could connect you to someone, or as my perhaps a little bit a try way to help someone, like one of my former superiors, that's one story that I share in my book, said to me, oh, Sabrina, but you're an adult, you just could do that. And at this moment, at this point in time, I was really at the beginning of my career, and I was a little bit hesitant because it was a big project. And she just told me, oh, but yeah, you know, you are grown up, you could do that. And that was really enough for me to feel this, okay, someone else is thinking I can that, and it built this confidence in me, and I just moved on and experimented my way forward. And I think that's something that's really important to encourage people. That's not the only thing. You have to perhaps you have a little bit to watch as a people leader, little bit to watch out and see if it's going in a good direction and give a little bit support. But it could be the most important thing to encourage people, and then give a little bit help, just as need be.
Yeah, when you were talking, I was thinking, oh, she already mentioned people leader, and I mean, it was funny to see you to hear you again saying that. So it's absolutely about the leaders, their skills and the leadership style and how they focus on people. So giving confidence to people, encouraging them is a leader's responsibility. And if the leaders focus on that, they will get more learners in their organization. So I totally agree with you on this. And Sabrina, if you still want to spend some time a little bit talking about the future and looking ahead a little bit for the learning sphere, where do you believe the most learning forward organization will be doing in the next 5, 10 years? What is it, the one thing that should preoccupy them as they
Yeah.
continue focusing on learning?
Yes. The first thing that they really understand that to stay excellent or to get excellent, they have to be a learning organization to understand this high priority and not only understand it, say, in the boardroom, but really share that widely and give out this, this expectation. We expect everyone to learn every day and share your learning and help each other, so that it's really important. Perhaps you need some, KPIs on your way to really to focus on that. Depending on the culture, if you need that. And then people, an organization that's really on the forefront of learning would have to implement this, that people leaders or also peer-to-peer coach each other on learning, that really support each other on learning to build these capabilities. That's really basic capabilities to help people get into this learning process, but that you have to practice to really get into that and to keep that going. I also have seen organizations who started something like that, and then there was perhaps a change in management. The next manager is doesn't know so much about that and doesn't
Doesn't continue the
feel,
momentum, right? Yeah, things just stop.
and
Yeah,
then
stops.
so really have keep having a focus on help people to learn and coach people to learn, encourage people to coach each other to learn. I think that's the main point.
Absolutely, and I think you're spot on here, because we see a lot of I mean, talk around managers as coaches, right? And we see the coaching field is growing, because there's a need for managers to start focusing on coaching their people, to be more involved, to be present, to be able to spot what's going on and guide their team. So I think that's a great, advice, and I think it has to happen at an organizational level with some systems that support to develop that coaching, ecosystem within the organization. And Sabrina, if you want to just look at back to a little bit to excellence, what do you think is the one question that leaders should ask themselves, really to focus on excellence through learning? What is the thing that they need to maybe shift their focus to?
Mm-hmm. Oh, the hard question. What should they shift?
Should they start with their own mindset maybe a little bit first before they start? I mean, there's something that some organizations are not doing learning, they're not focusing on
Yeah.
learning. So,
Yes,
well,
yes.
how can we really take them to that
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
level when it comes to learning?
Yeah. When I think of my work with leadership teams, um, and when I do this, talking about working with them about learning attitude and their way towards excellence. And at the end, I also ask them for their one big thing that they would like to work on. And they're really different things. But what really is the first step is to reflect and to get self-aware, as we had as we talked about in the beginning, to get self-aware. What is my own attitude, and what am I bringing to my organization? What example am I? Perhaps I say something, but the example that I give is something else. Then it doesn't really work. What I'm saying is not really leading people, but they are following what they see, and how I, as a leader, would act. And so really get self-aware, where they are standing in their learning attitude, also to practice themselves. I always start with a leadership team to practice themselves with a peer-to-peer coaching setup to gain these skills, not only understand from a talk or from me consulting them, that it would be a good idea to bring people, there are people, they say medium level managers and people leaders, to get into coaching, but really to experience it and practice the skills themselves so that they could tell their next level people leaders why that's important, and also that they really could coach them, and that it really gets from the top one level to the next through the organization. So really go on this learning journey themselves.
That's a great advice, and I think it's they need to role model, right? Learning and excellence and all this behavior that we're asking them to start establishing and building within their organization. Sabrina, this was really wonderful. Thank you so much for bringing your stories and your vision to excellence foresight. And to our listeners, what's one thing you're taking away from today's conversation? Please share it with us, and let's keep the learning alive. Again, Sabrina, thank you very much. And if you'd like to say something for our audience before we wrap up, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Perhaps I would like to share my most beloved quote from my book. And that is really, as a learner, the way unfolds right under your feet. And that's really the quote that is leading through my book. And it's also something that's leading through my professional journey. It's really, if you have your goal and if you are a learner and have this learning attitude and the learning, say a little bit learning skills and experience, your way forward unfolds under your feet.
What a great wrap up. Thank you very much, Sabrina. And I look
Thank you
forward
so much.
to listening again to the podcast. Thanks, everyone.